Jonathan Lee from Washburn and Kirk Lorange. Welcome to the Melbourne Guitar Show.
Thanks. Thank you.
You've been through day one of the show yesterday. How was the experience for you?
I think it was a fantastic day. There were a lot of people, and my understanding is that this is the largest show yet, and so it's great that people from Australia and Melbourne came to visit and check out Washburn'S and all the other fantastic stuff here. Kirk and we did a presentation on the history of guitar making at 11:30 yesterday, and it was fun.
Yeah. Jonathan, you're the chief designer at Washburn Guitars, but tell us about your journey to this position.
Well, my journey is I always wished I got to be this guy. Started off as a failed rock star in the 80s and decided I wanted to get into guitar building, and was lucky enough to meet Charles Fox, who is guitar building royalty in the States, in San Francisco, and we developed a wonderful friendship and partnership, so we put together a high-end guitar company in San Francisco. And so between the early mid-90s to early 2000s, I was building high-end acoustic guitars in America. Later on, I got to work in research and development with Hohner to work a little bit on their guitar program, and then was the creator and designer of an Asian-made brand called Walden Guitars, which I think some of you might have heard of. After Walden, a brief stint working with Breedlove Guitars in Bend, Oregon, which is close to where I live in Portland. And for the past few years, I've been the director of design and development for Washburn Guitars.
Yeah. Kirk, we know of you as a guitarist who's worked with many great Australian acts, Marsha Hines, Richard Clapton, a lot more, but and you had your own solo album, which was highly acclaimed. And since then, your music career has taken a bit of a different turn.
Yes, I moved away from Sydney in '97, I think it was. Moved north to Queensland, and I had written a book already, how to look at the fretboard and how to navigate the fretboard. And for a long time, I was putting those books into music shops and trying to find distributors, and then the internet came along and made the whole thing much easier for me. And so since about 2000, I've been online selling my book and teaching online. I do online lessons, and YouTube came along and made that very easy to get out there. And I've had 14 million views of my videos on YouTube so far. So yeah, it's a nice change from being in a big city and working every night, doing sessions all day long.
Yeah. So how did you hook up with Washburn Guitars?
A friend of mine from Sydney who works at Washburn called me a little while ago and asked me if I wanted to come down to Melbourne, and they sent me a couple of guitars to try out, and I love them, and so I said, yeah, I'll be glad to come down. And so it's a very recent association with Washburn. But they're beautiful guitars. I have no complaints about them at all. I think they're just beautiful.
Yeah. Jonathan, Washburn, you're virtually reintroducing the brand into Australia?
Yeah, it's been managed by other distributors in the past. I think 3 or 4 months ago was the first time that MMP, Musical Merchandisers out of Sydney, took the line on and are just bringing in the first shipment of a lot of the products that I've been working on personally. And so this Melbourne Guitar Festival is essentially the product re-release of Washburn, which is not new to guitars. I mean, we'll be 135 years old next year, but it's new as of their stewardship with Musical Merchandisers.
Yeah. So tell me about the series of guitars that you're promoting in Australia and here at the Melbourne Guitar Show.
Yeah. Primarily we are focusing on the acoustics. Washburn, of course, is known for everything from acoustic guitars to banjos, mandolins, steel resonators, lots of electric guitars, jazz boxes. But we figured, the core history of Washburn is acoustics, and Washburn is known as being kind of a working man's blue-collar proletariat brand, lots of value for the sound and cosmetics. And so we wanted to keep it affordable, keep it within reach, as well as introducing some of our all solid instruments, which are still affordable, but fantastic instruments. And we figure at a later date we may move into the Americana instruments and electric guitars.
Yeah. The guitar is a living, breathing thing that hopefully gets better with age. From a design perspective, what factors or elements have to be there at the beginning for that journey to be achieved?
Yeah, so my maestro, Charles Fox, once told me materials, materials, materials. And, you know, a $300 guitar and a $3,000 guitar, are they different? Yes, absolutely, because you are only able to work with a certain set of materials. And, of course, for these instruments, if you do get a chance to play them, there's a lot of guitar and there's a lot of musicality to it, in that we can really use our expertise to select those best materials for affordable instruments. And so you need to start with good materials to even have a chance of building a good sounding and playing guitar that's going to be stable through the ages. But then you have the artistry and investment of the artist in terms of the music that will be played on this instrument, and the ways in which the woods will vibrate over time. And then, of course, there's the age of the instrument itself. I mean, wood, as you said, is alive and goes through a number of transformations over time. Now, there's a new process called torrefaction or torrefaction, where you can use a process to age that top such that it is 50, 60, 100 years old, that if we're interested we can talk about, and that's being applied to a number of very, very high-end guitars like Dana Bourgeois' guitars out of Maine, but we've actually added that to our upper end as well, which effects the tone and allows that guitar to sound like a pre-war guitar without spending $70,000. Mm-hmm. But there are a number of factors, as well as that, and finally finish, thin enough finishes that can vibrate and not restrain the guitar. So it all really goes into a basket to contribute to a good sounding, stable instrument.
We're here to promote Washburn guitars. Kirk, you're holding a beautiful Washburn.
Yeah, this is gorgeous.
Can you tell us about this instrument?
Well, I think John would probably be able to tell much more than I do. I play them, but it feels good, sounds good, and that's all that I really care about. The construction and all that, well, that would be a question for John.
Sure, and that's a Woodline 011, is it? Yes, so this is a Woodline series, 011 SCE. We have two lines, or two series within this particular price point, one being the Woodline and the other being the Heritage. And Woodline's things that make it, or things that make it a special thing, is our understated cosmetics, wood binding. This one happens to be a pairing of cedar, Western red cedar top in solid wood, and mahogany side and back, which for fingerstyle blues, it's just a fantastic wood combination. And where we think of Woodline, we're thinking people that are singer-songwriters, fingerstyle musicians, perhaps church music, understated designs. And much like we live in a Coke and Pepsi world or a Whopper and Big Mac world, the Heritage generally have white binding, pick guards, and we're really aiming at very similar prices those instruments at the people that play heavy with picks, country, Americana. This particular one is in our O body, so it's an orchestra body, our own body shape. It's not actually like a Martin OM orchestra model. This is a Washburn O, and so it's narrow on the side versus the larger dreadnoughts and grand auditoriums. And it's a smaller body shape, so its really focus is not about being boomy and loud, but being more kind of precise and harmonically complex.
Very crisp too. That'd be a great recording guitar too.
Yeah.
It's not that booming bottom end or anything.
There was a recent article in the Washington Post that caused a bit of a stir, saying that the guitar is dead. It was a very misleading article. From what I know, acoustic guitar sales have been on a steady incline for at least 10 years.
Yep.
I guess you don't see that changing anytime soon?
Well, when you look on the TV and look at, I don't know if you have Australians, Next Talent or The Voice or these kind of shows, how many people get up there and play guitar? When you ask people that are interested in music, and there's music everywhere, I mean, anyone that says that music is on the decline, just say, okay, well, at any event or any mall, let's just not have music. And the world goes silent. There's music everywhere, and there are people producing it. And in the music that we hear, there's lots of guitar, and as well as all the other instruments. And when you ask a person that's interested in music, well, what instrument would you most like to learn? 8 times out of 10, maybe it's guitar. It's one of the most versatile instruments. It covers so many genres. Yeah, even the acoustic guitar, you got some people playing heavy metal all the way to the new percussive finger style and everything in between. Yeah.
It's extremely popular.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people now who wanted to learn when they were young, decided not to, became doctors, airline pilots, now they're retiring, and now they want to learn guitar. I know that because I'm online with them, and they come to my website. So there's a whole other batch of people who started out years ago, gave it up for a so-called straight career, and are now thinking, well, now I'll learn how to play guitar. So there's a resurgence, a whole generation from way back that are buying guitars.
Yeah.
Another thing when you ask about is the guitar dead or stringed instruments, let's just look at the recent history of ukuleles. Our sister brand, Oscar Schmidt, is the #3 ukulele company in the world, and we've seen tremendous growth. But the thing to understand is that if you're a ukulele player, which obviously demonstrates that people are into music and playing fretted instruments, is that the shapes that you're playing are all guitar shapes. You know, the D shape is there, the C shape, the G shape, and I fully expect people to want to have that extra 2 strings to play all the music that they're playing already, and it's going to be an easy transition for all those people. And, I mean, there are millions of people playing ukulele, and so everything is an ebb and flow, and I really don't think that the guitar is dead.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for you, Kirk, in the next?
Well, I have a band in Sydney called Chase of the Train, and that's been going for 35 years now. It's a 4-piece kind of blues rock band, I guess you'd call it. And we still play, several times a year down in Sydney. We're going on a cruise in October, the Rock the Boat cruise. That should be some fun. But other than that, I'll just continue on with my teaching. I get a lot of satisfaction out of my online teaching thing that I do now. It's nice to hear back from people that I'm helping them understand how music works and how the guitar works. So I'll just keep doing that. I have a 10-year-old daughter up there, so I can spend a lot of time with her now, and I'm not on the road very often, so yeah.
Yeah. And for Washburn, into the future?
Into the future, well, we have introduced this year, extended our line of our all solid wood instruments. One of them that we have here at the show is a Revival Solo Deluxe that is modeled after a 1930s Solo Deluxe that we got to take a look at and see what we were doing back in the 30s and merge that with some of the more modern elements of today's guitar building, for example, more comfortable necks or Graphtec ratio tuners. All of our soundboards for our all solid wood instruments actually have torrefied tops, so they're pre-aged to sound and play like instruments that have 50-year or more tops. And it's been really fun to put my hands into our all solid wood more premium instruments. And we released those at NAMM show this year, and Music Merchandisers has brought a number of those in to Australia this year. Next year will be our 135th year anniversary. We were formed in 1883,
Wow.
and there are some things that I can't actually talk about now that are pretty awesome. One of the things that I can say is we're going to be adding to our American-made offerings at the very premier level of our stuff, but other stuff that really touch the history of Washburn, and it's really exciting. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Okay, Kirk and Jonathan, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll catch you next time.
Thank
All
you.
right, appreciate it. Thank you very much.